Hi, welcome to Crip Tips TV. My name's Debbie Patterson and I'm your host. And I want to wish you a happy COVID month-iversary. As of today, we've been at it for 11 months. We're coming up to a year. I hope you have the champagne ready. What a year it's been. What a time to be alive. We have a great show for you today. First up is my conversation with Fiona Smith, the legend. Fiona will share with us how she has been living joyfully, resiliently, meaningfully in lockdown conditions for 12 years. Then I want to share with you some online Crip content from a group called lockedoutoflife.com. And again, and then finally, we have a question sent in from one of our viewers. So just a reminder, if you have questions for us, you can write to us at criptipstv@gmail.com. But enough about that. Here's my conversation with Fiona. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Debbie.
It's so nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Could we just start? I'd like to ask you to share with our viewers a little bit of your backstory about how you came to be living in isolation for an extended period of time.
Sure, absolutely. I was living a very busy, productive, fruitful life in Northern Ontario and minding my own business, actually, by all accounts. And I was stung by a wasp. And this is how quickly people's lives can change. Yeah, it started a crazy cellular cascade in my body and malfunction. And I was diagnosed very quickly with a very crazy, rare cellular disease called systemic mastocytosis. And what that does is it causes idiopathic anaphylaxis. So that means essentially I'm allergic to anything, anywhere, anytime. And I can be fine with something now, but 2 minutes from now I might not be.
Amazing. Did you ever think that you would be able to adapt to this lifestyle?
No, not at first. I thought it was impossible. I really did. Turns out that's absolutely not true.
Great.
So yeah.
Okay, I'm going to guess that you were probably kind of panicking at first. Is that a good guess?
Panic. Huge panic.
Yeah.
Huge panic. Because I had the first of the anaphylactic events, but because it kept happening and it was happening multiple times a day, like they would let me go home from the hospital. I'd be back there 2 hours later. And and I became, even though I was on the fire department and I was a volunteer firefighter and I was already intimate with the fire department, I became intimate with the fire department and paramedics in a way that I hadn't before. Anyway, I was a busy mum of two small children, and I was very busy in my Northern Ontario community. We were running a self-sufficient farm. I was a municipal government employee. I was gainfully employed. Anyway, it was all gone in a heartbeat. Gone. And when COVID hit everybody last year, it just resonated. I was, wow, the entire world is experiencing right now what happened when that wasp got me. Because not only could I became afraid of reasonable fears, things like, is this next piece of air, is this something coming, you have to be careful of what people are breathing on you. And I had to wear a mask when I left the front door. If I did leave the front door, things like that. And the safest place for me was at home. And I had been a very busy person. I was forced into this introverted, recluse, lifestyle when I had very much been an extrovert. Very much so. I was involved with the theatre company in our small town and all kinds of, I was a very busy person.
So you seem to have achieved a level of sort of equilibrium now. How long, Like, how long was it before you started to feel okay with this way of living?
I had to adjust fast, and it had to come fast. That, needs must. So, especially when you have children, I think, I realized quite quickly that I was a role model to two other individuals. I discovered, something that I had in my life before this happened, this massive event happened, was I volunteered a lot and I was of service to people. And what I discovered afterwards is that part of my new identity also needed to include that. And so I co-founded the Mastocytosis Society of Canada, because there was no organization for people with this rare illness. And so suddenly your time gets eaten up and you start doing busy things and you're thinking about things other than yourself. And that was helpful. That was incredibly helpful.
Yes. Being of service to others, that's a basic human need.
I think it is.
I think it's something that people are really missing right now. That we don't, how can I serve my community? How can I think it's why people are shoveling off skating rinks on the river so that they can be of service to their community in some way.
I would agree with you 100%. And I have to tell you that, I thought, one of the things I thought when I lost everything was, I am no good to anybody anymore. There's no value left in me. And I went there in my thoughts, and it's not true. It's just not true. We just have to get a little creative about how we're doing it. And so you're right, cleaning off the rinks on the river. Let's do it. There is absolutely things you can do, and you can make a difference.
Being of service to others is really important, but so is asking for help. And I think that's even harder than offering help. Has that been a journey for you to figure out how to ask for help when you need it?
Huge.
Yeah,
it's been huge. I've never been very good at asking for help, to tell you the truth. I always want to figure things out on my own. Because there are barriers and they're real, rather than seeing it as a removal of barriers, which is what we're ultimately looking for all the time. When we don't feel like we belong, when we aren't participating, it's because there's a barrier. It's that simple. It is absolutely that simple. So anything that we can do for ourselves or for others where we're removing those barriers, that's what it's all about. So, it was my husband who said to me, you need to, you've lost your career. You've lost your career. So what are you going to do about that? You don't like being on long-term disability, which isn't a viable option for you. You could just write the book that you've always wanted to write. Like, maybe the universe is telling you, write that book, Fiona. And I was like, yeah, but I feel like there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. And so that's when I looked into completing a master's degree in education by distance education, and I did it in distance education. I could not have anticipated that we would be hit by a pandemic and the entire world of distance education would explode in the way that it has in the last year.
But it's created opportunities for you, hasn't it?
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. I've been hired, part-time contract, but quite frankly, I've been working full-time.
Are you finding with your students that this time of isolation is forcing them to deal with stuff that they otherwise wouldn't be dealing with? Like it creates a space in our lives, right? That just gets filled up with all the work that we haven't been doing on ourselves.
It does, actually. And that's the other thing is, I think this space to be with yourself is a whole dynamic that in our very busy lives pre-COVID, we were very, very happy not to deal with. I know that I was guilty of it too. One of the things I've discovered over the last 12 plus years is that I do actually like hanging out with myself. I'm all right.
That's great.
I didn't know that about myself before.
How long did it take to get there?
I would say it took me it took me about a year to get there, like to start getting there.
Right.
And it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm still finding pockets of things about me where I go, oh, that's surprising. That's quite nice. How about that, you? Because I think we're really quick to criticize ourselves. And when big catastrophes happen, and let's be real, a pandemic is a catastrophe. And interestingly, it's happened as a collective experience, but it's happened to us individually. And I was a little bit scared for people when we went into it, because I knew about the adjustments that my own journey in isolation, took me, and the places it took me to, and the darkness it could take you to, but you can't stay there.
You have to go there, you have to observe it, you have to feel it, but then you have to move on.
You do, and it's really honored to do that. Exactly what you just said, honor it, and then move past it. There's discomfort in that. Absolutely, there's discomfort in that. But don't be afraid of it. It's an opportunity to grow, and, you might not like it. Nobody said you have to like it. I have a few basic mantras I live with. Like, my first one is darkest night, always gives way to a beautiful bright dawn, no matter what. Like the longest night, no matter what, there is always going to be a dawn at the end of it. The planets revolve in a certain way, like the Earth moves on, so do we. We've already talked about being of service to others. That's my second mantra. And then the next one is super important. My husband was the one that introduced this to me, because I wasn't in a place to accept this at first. I wasn't. And I would say, fair play, it took me longer to arrive at this one. To laugh every day at something. So watch a piece of comedy or laugh at yourself. Laugh at actual children doing something. And for me, it had to come from an external source first, because I wasn't in a place to laugh at me. And I wasn't in a place to laugh at the things that were going on around me, because everything seemed so serious and big at first.
You seem like a person with a great sense of humor. Like, I can't imagine you without your sense of humor. But do you feel like you lost it for a while?
I did. I genuinely did. I did. And I think that's quite normal when craptacular things happen to us.
Yeah. There's something else that I'm noticing here, is that you don't take yourself too seriously. Like,
oh, hell no.
We all want to be important people. We all want to be sophisticated. We all, we want to be cool. Yeah. But
yep.
In a way, that can get in the way of our happiness.
Huge time. Yeah, I want to be taken seriously. I think we all do. But yeah, don't take yourself too seriously. Absolutely don't. No. Yeah, no, because if you start doing that, you're going to create barriers for yourself, I think. That can be problematic. And I have been that person. I've done that before. But that was pre-wasp sting.
That wasp saved you from your self-importance.
Do you know what? It is weird to say. It is weird to say something like that. But there are times when I go, I know I was angry with you at first, you darn critter. You venomous critter. But thank you. Thank you for this madness that you gave me and the changes that you brought to our world. Ultimately, down the road, there will be some gratitude to be found in this insanity.
Yes.
Down the road. I think we're in the thick of it right now. It's hard to see some of that. Mm-hmm. But perhaps we should start thinking about that.
About gratitude. Yeah. That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that on your list?
Huge. That's on my list. It absolutely is. It's right up there with create and use your imagination, because I feel like for me as a so I was about to say for me as an artist. But you see, but again, I refrain from using phrases like that, because I want to be taken seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously. But I feel like gratitude, that's a way of expressing gratitude by being able to use the gifts that you have. If you fix cars, you know, that's a way of expressing gratitude when you do that each and every moment. If you are somebody that creates meals, food is absolutely a love language. There's gratitude to be found in that. I wake up every day and even though I don't leave my house, and I ask, what adventure am I going to have today?
Well, yeah, when anything can kill you, every day's an adventure.
Right? Exactly.
Wow.
Right.
That's great.
Right. And I would say theatre's prepared me very well for this improvised life.
Right.
I very much would.
What do you think what are the tools you get from doing theater that you're able to apply to living with a disability?
To always say yes.
Yes.
It doesn't get any more simpler than that.
That's really good. That's great.
But say yes to the adventure. Say yes to the moment. Say yes to being of service. Say yes to laughing today. Say yes to loving fiercely, loving deeply. And say yes to waiting that darkness out, because the dawn is coming. It absolutely is. It's a given. And while I'm sitting into it, I imagine, and I use my imagination. Right. And I think that isolation is the perfect time for us all to exercise that imagination.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not a flaky thing, imagination. Like everything in our world was imagined before it was built.
That's
right.
I'm so
like
glad you said that too. That's it.
You can't make anything without imagining it first. Like imagination isn't some flaky escape. It's actually a productive part of creation.
I'm really aware. I mean, I've almost died a whole bunch of times for real. I've been resuscitated. I like a number of times and all of that. I'm aware that life is precious. So that's part of the reason I like to grab it, and do as much with it as possible.
Everybody on their deathbed wants a little more time. But nobody thinks about what they want to do with it. So this is it. This is you doing it. This is your extra time.
This is it. It's
amazing.
Use it.
It's all bonus.
Actually, that's it. Use it. I see it all as a gift. I really do. Like, I wake up every morning for real and say, not only like, what adventure am I going to get up to today? That's actually like the second thing I say. The first thing I say is, I get to live another day. Like, for real. So, if you start your day from that kind of perspective, like, everything else is gravy.
Great.
Anyway.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Locked Out of Life is a public awareness campaign to advocate for young adults with significant disabilities. In Manitoba, when you're in high school, you have access to all these supports that make it possible to go to high school, to volunteer, to hang out with friends, to participate in social events. But once you graduate from high school or you turn 18, all these supports disappear, and you're left with one-size-fits-all support of 55 hours max of home care per week. Now, if you're a person whose needs can't be met within 55 hours of home care a week, then you have to rely on family and friends to support you, or you have to move into a senior's care home, which is inappropriate housing for an 18-year-old. You don't have access to education or transportation. It's a waste of human potential, and it's a lack of basic respect for these folks. So check it out. locked out of life. It'll blow your mind. One of our viewers wrote in to us with a question. My husband and I are both in our 80s. We've both been doing fairly well. Neither of us have gotten sick, and we're not too stir crazy. But I like to keep in touch with people, and my husband isn't so good at it. And he's started to get grumpy. I don't blame him. It's hard to stay cheerful when you're cooped up. So I'm in a bit of a quandary. He's not much fun to be around, but spending time on the phone talking to other people seems to make things worse for him. But that's what makes me happy. It won't do to have both of us unhappy. Well, Sunnyside, you're right there. You've got to stay happy. And it's really beautiful that you love your husband so much and you care about his happiness. Now, happiness isn't just a nice thing for us. It's actually a way of being of service to others. When you show up to a situation and you bring your happiness, you elevate everybody there. And happiness is elusive. When you try to be happy, when you try to hang on to it, it slips out of your grasp. So you kind of have to gently nurture it. So what I like to do is choose my perfect moment of the day. Okay, there's this thing Kurt Vonnegut said, where he talked about how writers strive and they work so hard to achieve things, to get published or to win an award. And sometimes when you've worked so hard to get it and you finally get it, you forget to take a moment to just appreciate it. And so what Kurt Vonnegut says is to take a moment and say, if this isn't nice, I don't know what is. So find your perfect moment of the day, the moment that happens every day that is just sublime. It could be your first sip of coffee in the morning. It could be stepping into a hot shower. For me, it's getting into bed at the end of the day because I get to stretch out. I'm in my chair all day and I go to bed and I stretch out and my bed is super cozy and it's warm and my partner is beside me and I love him so much and it's just a perfect moment. And so every night when I go to bed, I just take a moment to remind myself, if this isn't nice, I don't know what is. And I even say something out loud sometimes, like, I'm so lucky, I'm so happy to be here, this is so cozy. Whatever it is, I just mark the moment. I remember to take note of it, to not take it for granted, and to just amplify it a bit. And if you can do that, then you take the little happy moment in your life and you make it bigger, and it takes up more space in your life. So there's less room for the things that you want to complain about. There's less room for the crappy things. And it's like that old Peggy Lee song, to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And honestly, if you do this, you will be happier. I hope it helps. Thanks for writing in, Sunnyside. And all of you, if you have any COVID questions, pandemic problems, isolation issues, you can write to us at criptipstv@gmail.com and we'll do our best to help you out. That's our show for today. Please join us next week when I'll be talking to Drew Gurza, sex and disability consultant extraordinaire. Okay, stay safe, everyone.